The Tri-Village Chamber Partnership presents Lillian Zarzar, The Art of Self-Mastery. Are you the master of your life?
Our first keynote has been identified as a CEO leader and gypsy entertainer. From the front of the room, she's an effective leader, challenging you to seek the talents within and apply the powerful tools that she teaches. She delights audiences of all sizes with her open-hearted humor. Whether she's one-on-one coaching or in front of hundreds in seminars, they are inspired. She's the founder and owner of the Zarzar Group, a Columbus, Ohio-based international company devoted to helping you gain more confidence and assertion and obtain greater clarity and focus. She transfers principles that deepen self-awareness, assisting you in making decisions without guilt and approaching challenges without fear. Through her coaching experience, you find profound transformation in self-mastery and self-governance. She's also the author of Appleosophy, Slices of Apple-Inspired Wisdom, and a contributing author of 4 anthology publications. Through the simplicity of the apple metaphor, she shares her message: to break through to the core of who you are and discover your truth. Her high energy and thought-provoking presentations inspire you to plant and cultivate your own seeds of awareness and tap into a new way of thinking beyond by going within. From her travels to the Great Pyramids of Egypt to her climb of the ancient ruins in Peru, she carries in her heart the star that shines from the platform. Please welcome Lillian Zarzar.
Thank you. What a great day! I know! Are you having fun yet? You should be. Do it. Just do it. This is the day for you to think about you. Not to think about everybody else. Not to worry about what's going on in the world and how are you going to handle it. Not to worry about things. This is a focus on you. How can you be your best self if you're worried about everything else? So I'm going to ask you several questions. You'll have an opportunity to chat among your colleagues at the table and to share best practices. Why are you here? What do you hope to gain from today? So as we go through, I will answer any questions you might have, and I'd be delighted to meet with you at my table in the vendor area. So let's start. Are you the master of your life? Do you run your life? Do you make your own decisions? Or is someone else doing that for you? What does that mean? So why are you here? What do you want to achieve today? And how are you present? And when I talk about present, I mean, are you fully engaged with everyone here and focused on you and those you meet? Because this is going to be a powerful day for you. And I thank you for taking the time to recognize that you are just as important as everyone else. How many of you have to-do lists? Oh, look at this, the entire room. And where do you put yourself on that list? You don't show up, do you, Edie? Well, you're just telling the universe you're just not as important as everybody else. Change that. Put yourself first. On my to-do list, in my dinosauric Franklin planner, yes, I still use one. People tell me I have a dinosaur, but I get to the page faster than everybody who scrolls on their phone. So when I look, the first thing I write is meditate, and the second is exercise. And I was up at 6 meditating, thinking about today. I didn't exercise yet. I will confess. I'll do that later. So at your table, please identify what brought you here. You have a couple of minutes. Please share and introduce yourselves. Thank you. You can talk now. I hope that you'll continue to share with each other throughout the day. And we're going to move on with the session. And I want to ask you this. Do you recognize that you work for you? You are the CEO of YOU. You make your own decisions, and you surround yourself with what I would consider your board of directors. And who are your board of directors? Are you following what they tell you to do, or are you creating your own pathway? Are you the leader or the follower, or both? You know you're both because we both lead and follow. But you must understand that you are the one who signs your name at the end of every day. You're the artist who creates your life. And I wonder, are you willing to sign your name every day? Are you willing to do that? I thought about making that a website, because I thought it would be so cool for people to come to the website and sign their names and say, I commit to being the best I can be. Yes, you can steal it, so anybody who wants to do it, go right ahead. Self-mastery, who says it? Leonardo. He said, one can have no smaller or greater mastery than the mastery of oneself. And who else said it? Lao Tzu. Knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, and mastering yourself is true power. So think about how you lead your life, how you master yourself, and what do you do in difficult and uncomfortable situations. And how do you consider your thoughts as you are operating on a daily basis? Are you self-aware? And this is what the martial arts tell us. How many of you here have done martial arts? I'm curious. Half a dozen of you, yay, good for you. Sensei. I know. My college roommate became a black belt, so I learned all this from her. So when we look at the pyramid of the martial arts, I would love for you to think about the notion of awareness and think these are the 4 elements: awareness, discovery, love, self-love, and I'm not talking about romance here, and your self-mastery. It's a process. It's a way that you can live your life fully. So when you think about your self-awareness, what do you consider to be the highest values? Do you live your values? Have you ever heard people say things like, I just want to treat other people the way I want to be treated, and then you don't treat yourself very well? So what kind of modeling are you giving others? I want you to think about it. I told you I'm going to ask you lots of questions today. Not that I'm going to ask you to answer them right away, but I want you to think about it. So let's look at this. What are your highest values, and what do you believe about life? Share at your table. What are your highest values? Think about what you believe in and what you value most, because that is going to be the impetus for your behavior today. All right, let's come back. Did you notice? I'm a speaker, and hearing is my very first component, so I listen very carefully. Did you notice that the first time I asked you a question and told you to discuss with the other teammates at your table, how loud everybody got? That was the first question. Why are you here today? What do you hope to gain from today? And yet when I asked you to share your values, you were quietly speaking. Everything went down. I don't know, I've never thought about that before. Oh, wow, that's a good question. Well, what are you going to do with that question? How are you going to handle it? So I'm giving you opportunities to share with each other, because we know that adults love to participate in their learning. I'll confess, my highest value is education. And I teach even when I give a keynote. So I'm anticipating you'll learn something, especially about yourself today. Self-discovery is the second notion that the martial arts taught us. And understand that your values dictate your behavior. And your behavior determines your life. And your life demonstrates what you value. Are you living your values? Or do you feel as though you're compromising yourself because somebody else is dictating your life? Are you doing what you would love to do? I'm doing what I love to do. Somebody told me I should be retiring soon. I said, in the light of eternity, soon could be a blip. So why would I retire if I love what I do? The most important is that I get paid too. You know, when you get paid to do what you love, it makes all the difference, doesn't it, Sue? So what I'm suggesting to you is to think about your own discovery of yourself and the people you serve and the work that you do that is so critical in the contribution to this world. There are principles I want to share with you about this. The entire universe is designed, and it's going to be a little physics here, but it's understandable. The entire universe is designed dualistically in a three-dimensional environment. Everything has its polar opposite. Everything. The quantum contains everything, positive and negative. So when we're thinking about ourselves, do you love the whole of you or just the parts you like? Because you're both. Is the glass half full or half empty? What do you think? How many of you would say, that glass is half full? I'm an optimist, yay! Some of you are like, yeah, right. I see it half empty. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to fall. And then there's some of you who are engineers will say, well, there's half water and half air. Therefore, it's 50%. What I'm getting at is it's always full because it's half full and half empty. The operative terminology is it can't be half full unless it's half empty. So what that means is in the quantum, you are everything that there is. You are all that there is. You're nice. How many of you are nice? Are you nice? Yeah, of course you're nice. Are you mean? Yes. Thank you for acknowledging that you're mean. Why? This is all perception. We're all nice and mean. Don't give me this. You can't be 100% of anything. But you are 100% all of you. So think about that. The third element is self-love. What does self-love entail? It means loving all of you. And therefore, it means both support and challenge. Positive and negative, nice and mean, smart and stupid. Yes, I'm stupid too. I will tell you a story of my stupidity. And I was traveling with some colleagues, and we were speaking at a conference. And I was leading the section on personal growth and development. And I kept blinking because I couldn't figure out. At the time, I had my contacts in, and my eyes were watery, and I'm crying in front of the audience, and I had 150 women at the conference. I said, you know, during the break, I must go up to my room and check what I did. And I kept looking at my eyes, thinking, why are they red, and why is this going on? So I took the contacts out, and I realized I had them in backwards. So it was scratchy and awful. And so when I came back, I told my colleagues, I said, can you imagine? I told my audience, I put my contacts in backwards. And my colleague said this, Joanne, she said, I would never tell anyone how stupid I am. I said, I would because I want to embrace that part of me. Besides, it was humorous. Everybody laughed, and they thought it was a joke that I had this redness in my eyes, and they were just backwards. Don't you do funny, quirky things like that? And don't you embrace that part of you? No, you think you have to be perfect? You are perfect because you're both. That's what I want you to remember and to think about that. And there are times, yes, someone's going to say, you're really mean. Say, thank you. I've had people call me a bitch. Uh-oh. It just simply means being in total control of herself. Or himself, gentlemen. So it's how you frame. It's how you frame life. You can either look at it as, oh, dear God, everything's a mess, nothing ever goes right, or you can focus on what is right in the world and focus on that so that you can balance yourself out. There are 7 areas of life. And this is common. You've heard Tony Robbins talk about it. You've heard DeMartini talk about it. You've heard Jack Canfield talk about it. All these gentlemen know what they're doing. I'm looking for women who can say the same thing. Here I am, so I'm telling you. And when you look at the 7 areas of your life, how have you mastered each of the 7 areas? And I want to talk about it this way. When you empower yourself, and get this, you can empower every area of your life to the percent that you focus on it. Have you noticed that there are many movie stars who have an incredible financial life and a lousy familial life? Because they focused on one thing. Or vocation. You're great on vocation, but you have terrible relationships. So you've got to think about, how can I master all of me? And that doesn't mean you have to be 100% for the rest of your life and you're struggling. All I'm saying is incrementally grow in every single area so that you are capable of being 100% your best self. When you evaluate yourself and you think about each of these 7 areas, how do you empower yourself? DeMartini says, any area of life you don't empower, people overpower. Someone else runs your life. Someone else determines the quality of your life. So I'd like you to chat right now and identify at your table, what is the area of life you'd like to focus on? And what areas you feel you have completed successfully. That doesn't mean you're 100% wealthy, because wealth can come in many forms. It doesn't have to be money. It can be the quality of relationships. Here's an exercise I did. I studied with the DeMartini Institute, and one of the studies was find out where you have your billion already, because you already have what you have. So I spent hours writing in my manual and hours writing down everything that I cared about in my life. Every relationship, every vacation I went on, every car I've ever owned, every person I know. I did this for hours until I found that my worth was over $1 billion. I put an amount on every one of them. Some were worth $10, some were worth $1 million. My family was worth one of the millions. So what would you address? And how would you assign a number to the wonderful value of your life? You are a magnificent being in this earth. Think about that and how you come to be. So share at your table, and you have a few minutes for that, and talk about what's the area you would love to focus on, especially today. Begin. If we had all day, you could speak longer. But we do have all day with everyone else. So I want you to get the benefit of having the opportunity to share with each other. So when you think about self-mastery, there are 3 components, and the 4th of the martial arts is self-mastery. So what does that mean when you master yourself? There are 3 components. I did a lot of research for this presentation because I wanted to ensure that I had the latest understanding, and all the research I read and all the information I read, these 3 components kept coming up. The notion of self-discipline, the idea of controlling your emotions, and to be continually grateful. So I was telling Katie, I'm feeling much, much better, by the way. I'm just getting over shingles on my face. Oh yeah, oh, it's painful. Those of you who've had it know it, but at least I could get dressed because it was only on my face, but I couldn't go out anywhere for 2.5 weeks. I quarantined myself, number 1, because I couldn't look at it anymore, and number 2, it hurt so much that I just stayed home with my cat Newbie, and we hung out. And I took the time to reevaluate my life. So I said, I brought that shingles on to take time for me. All right, let's make the best of it. So today I'm 100% better, thank you. And I'm so glad I could come and be with you. Thank you, thank you. So whenever anything happens, recognize it doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. Just switch one word and say, if it happens for me, why did I bring this on? Why did I allow this to be happening? Why did I allow myself to be that vulnerable? There must be a lesson in here somewhere. And that is something that you are learning because you are the master of your life. You're the CEO, right? There, I see nods in the audience. Thank you for that affirmation. So let's look at each of these. And I'm going to ask you these questions, not because I'm being redundant, but because to emphasize. To emphasize you, what values do you live by? So if I'm not teaching, I'm not living my values. I teach at the grocery store. I stand in the area to buy my groceries, and people are there, and we talk, and I notice what people have. And one day, it was interesting, one of the people had picked up an eggplant, and she said, I don't know what this is or what to do with it, but my husband took a picture and told me to bring it. I said, oh, well, this is called an eggplant, even though it's not an egg, but it is a plant. And I started to tell her how to cook it, and she just looked at me like, I am not the cook, so don't talk to me about that. I said, well, tell your husband, since he's the person who cooks. And the person checking us out said, do you always do that? I said, well, I don't know her, but I figured she could learn something. It's who you are. Who are you? Who are you as a person, and how are you living that? So I want you to consider this as you are evolving and evaluating yourself. The second question I want you to think about is, what is your personal mission? How many of you have written a personal mission? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the rest of you have heard of it? Well, write it. Isn't it time? What do you live by? What do you live for? Why are you here? Don't you ever examine that? Do you never ask yourself that question? What am I doing? Why am I here? How can I make a greater contribution? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. Come on. All right, I'm going to ask you a question. What time is it? What time is it? Somebody can tell me, anybody can tell me, right? You can all tell me what time it is. Look at your watch or your cell phone. What time is it? We all know. Anybody can answer that question. Now I'm going to ask you this. How can you make a valuable contribution to someone's life, including yours, today? Only you can answer that question. Only you can challenge yourself to be your best, because only you can determine the quality of your life by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Next question. What do you envision for your life? Oh, I don't believe in living your dreams. I don't think you can live your dreams. I don't know. It just doesn't work out for me. Is that what you're saying? Remember this. You always move in the direction of your innermost thought. Ha! You move in the direction of your innermost thought. If you say one thing and believe another, you're going to go by whatever your internal clock tells you. So if you say something to someone and you behave differently and believe differently, you are what you believe and behave, not what you tell other people. Because if you're not in alignment with those values, you're not living your very fullest and best self. And I hope that today you're taking that time to evaluate and think for yourself. Why am I even on this earth? What are your core values? They're based on what your highest values are. So what your beliefs that dictate your life, though the life is demonstrated by what you value. How many times can I tell you? How many times can I ask you to think about that? You know, most people, and I was speaking earlier this morning to several of you as we were talking about what a great day we're going to have, and Jeannie and I were discussing before we started. And I said, you know, most people don't have a ritual, a practice. What is your practice? I wake up in the morning, and the first two things, I meditate and I exercise. And when I get something in meditation, I act on it because I know that that's truth coming in, that I'm open to receiving whatever I'm getting. Have you ever had this feeling, oh, I knew that was going to happen? Or I had a feeling this was going on, right? So go with it because you know yourself better than anyone else. No one else knows you like you do. Just love it all. That's the important thing. So let's go into the third element. This is something, or the second element of emotional control. I know one thing that really gets to me when I'm driving is people who don't put on their turn signals. And they decide they're going to turn. Right, thank you, Talanda, thank you. It irritates me, and I go, you stupid. I'm stupid too. Why did I tell them they're stupid? Maybe they just don't know what they're doing. They shouldn't be behind the wheel. Actually, they're driving, and this is a machine that could hurt someone. You know, I start going into this monologue inside my head because it just bothers me. And I think, why does this bother you, Lillian? What difference does it make? Well, they cut me off. So what? When have you cut somebody off? When have you forgotten to turn your signal on? When were you deep in thought and didn't even know where you were going and missed the street and kept going past wherever you were supposed to meet? I was supposed to meet somebody earlier this week. I went right past the place. And I'm talking to myself, and I got completely lost in Upper Arlington. That's not unusual, is it? So I say to you, what is it that bothers you so much, and how do you control that? So I've learned that as soon as I start getting irritated, I look at myself and say, I'm only irritated because I've probably done this also. Just understand, when you spot it, you've got it. When you spot it, you've got it somewhere in your form. So don't go telling me, oh, I'm not like that. Just ask yourself, how are you like that? Because nobody escapes being human. We all have every characteristic. So when you look at an event and you respond to that event, you're coming from an internal locus of control. You conduct that yourself. You determine yourself what's most important in this moment. I've often said that momentum means being in the moment. So in that moment, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Be in touch with yourself. Remember self-awareness, self-discovery. So consider that and then think, how important is this? By the time they turned and I turned, it didn't matter anymore. So why focus on something that's already over? How many people do you know who focus on the past and keep remyelinating? We all know what myelin is, right? Myelin? Okay, I'll tell you. I see blank look, so I'll explain it. Myelin is the sheath that covers the nerves. There are billions of them in your body. And the sheath, this would be the myelin, and this, my arm, is the nerve. So the myelin carries the messages through your body, and you feel in your stomach sometimes, or you feel your arm hurts, or your head hurts, or your head, not head. So what I'm telling you is, when you are in that moment, what's going on with you? And if you keep thinking about the past, here's a clue. It's over. It's over. There's no redo. It's done and gone. Let it go and move on. Oh, that's a poem. We should write a poem. It's done and gone. Let go, move on. I love it. See what happens when you're inspired? So when you come from an internal locus of control, you're much more serene. You're much more at peace with yourself because you've controlled how you operate and you've controlled what you think. If you come from an external locus of control, E plus R being reaction, not response, then you're allowing what's outside of you to govern your behavior. And then you get irritated with that person. And you say, oh, I wish they hadn't done that. Or that's not right. Hello? And I wish they hadn't said that. And what? And then you keep going over and over. It's done. We have to let things go to make room for the things that we want. And if you're full of malice and annoyance and anger, you're not leaving room for the joy. So balance it out and understand it's all there. Just acknowledge it. Because otherwise you become like this. And that takes over. And have you ever met people who are so angry that everything angers them? You may work with some folks like this. They come in and they're angry because they hit every red light on the way to work. So what? You hit every red light, leave sooner. And if you hit every red light, enjoy that moment. Reframe it. And when I hit every red light, I go, gee, I wonder where all these people are going. And where are they? And why are they here at this time? I know. Doesn't it sound funny? But I have to get myself through the day. And that's what I do. Otherwise, I'd be a basket case. And I would not sign my name to that basket. In actuality, every event is neutral. Period. Neutral. The only reason it's not neutral is because of our perception of it. It's neutral. I spoke to Honda shortly after 9/11. We had a room full of people, and there were several speakers through the day. And when I got up to speak, we actually looked at all the benefits of that event. And we had so many benefits that the speaker after me would not come on. He said, I can't follow that. That was too powerful. So they let me continue. And we continued the rest of the day being grateful for that event. It was one of the most powerful sessions I've ever had, but I was inspired to do it because I wanted them to see that it wasn't all a bad thing. It just was. Period. It just is. Life is. And what you make of it and how you frame it makes it either positive or negative for you. Remember, they say that when you see something and you think it's great, someone else will probably say it isn't. Because it's all dependent upon three things that you do control: your perceptions, your decisions, and your actions. And your emotions distort your ability to be effective. So when you're all upset, you're not thinking clearly. Have you ever said, I can't see straight, I'm so mad? Well, you can't see straight because you're seeing crooked, because you're lopsided when you think about it. I just had the opportunity to do this with a fellow speaker who is angry with me that I did not consider her to speak on a platform for a conference I'm coordinating. But I looked at all the criteria, and I met with the task force, and we made a decision. And she was not selected to be a keynoter because her content was not at the level that was expected. She could work and be on a panel, or she could be in a breakout, but we wanted someone to take the main stage who had the power and the persona to carry it. And I'm coordinating, so I did not volunteer to do it. And she was so angry. The emails went back and forth, and I finally thought, calm down, Lillian. You don't have to take this personally just because she did. And so I emailed her and said, I would love to talk to you about this. It's not fair for you to think that you were not considered. She was. But she didn't know. She didn't know the facts. So when you don't know the facts and you make an assumption, what happens? You're lopsided, and you think you know everything. You're only knowing one side. She could only see the side that she decided was what was her perception. I know you did this and you did that. And she accused me of what I didn't do. So I acknowledged it, and I said, in your perception, I'm sure this is the case. So we are meeting tomorrow afternoon. No, Saturday. Saturday afternoon we're meeting so that I can talk to her on a Zoom call. She doesn't live in town, and I'm going to talk to her through this so that she can be calm and not upset. Do you know that every time you're angry, you affect your immune system? Why would you hurt yourself so much? And to be angry about something over which you have no control. But you do control your perception, you control the decisions you make, and you control the actions. Those are the three things you actually control. So you are the master, but if you let somebody else control you, your emotions are letting that person control your life. Her emotions were controlling her. So this is real, and it's evident even today. And I take great gratitude in being able to balance myself out before I even respond. And I had people on the board emailing me. You should tell her this, and you should say that, and why don't you do this? They were angry with her. I said, she deserves to be angry. She only knows half the situation. That's just her feeling. Well, don't take it personally, Lillian. I said, I'm not. Well, tell her you were hurt by her behavior. I said, I wasn't hurt. Why should I lie? Because all you're doing is creating an environment that the other person then feels guilty. And that's not true. You're only hurt because you allow yourself to be hurt. People don't necessarily deliberately do it to hurt you. She didn't do it to hurt me. She did it because she was frustrated and she was angry and she was functioning within the facts that she thought she had. And I'm just going to set it straight. But I'm not going to take it personally, and I am not going to be angry with her for being angry. Because we deserved every emotion we have when we act upon our perceptions. She made a decision, and she took action by coming to me. So I'm asking you to consider, how are you operating when you think of your perception and your decisions that you make and the actions that you take? Or are you just behaving on a whim? Do you know that research shows, and I found this fascinating when I read it, research shows that human beings operate automatically 96.4% of the time. You're on autopilot. 96.4%, you just react. Bingo, you're right there. Oh, why did I do that? I can't believe I did that. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Folks, it's like toothpaste. You can't put it back in the tube. It's out. So consider the energy that you're using and what you're going through in that moment. So the fourth element, or the third element of this section is gratitude. And I think gratitude is something that people don't realize. If you are grateful, you can't be stressed. You can't. The body cannot process gratitude and stress simultaneously. So when you're stressed, immediately say, what am I grateful for? In this moment, what am I grateful for? In this moment, who can I thank for putting me in this situation? Me. Thank yourself. Say, okay, so why did you do this? Let's figure this out together. You, yourself, and yourself, you're a team. Think about that. So when we're grateful, we can't be stressed. So anytime you find yourself stressed, as these board members were stressed when they were emailing me, it took me an hour to sort this all out yesterday, which I hadn't planned on. And I calmed them all down, said, let's look at it from her perception. Let's think about how things are. Let's be cool and collected. And let's be grateful she brought this up, because it now gives us the understanding that we missed something in this step-by-step process. We thought we covered ourselves, but we didn't know there'd be this one person who would stand up and shout. So we've got to think about how to address that. Are people entitled to be who they are? Would you agree? People are entitled to be who they are. Are people entitled to act upon the way they see the world? Sure. Why do we get so annoyed with them? Why do people get annoyed with you when you act on what you believe and what you perceive the world to be? Stand up strong and stand up for yourself. The person with the greatest certainty wins. The person with the greatest certainty in the room wins, even if they're wrong. Think about that. So what is the universal truth for all of us is love. And love means embracing both sides. Now, many of you are married, I'm sure. How many of you are married? Oh, wow. Almost everybody in the room. I'd say at least 75 to 80%. Congratulations. I was engaged twice and broke them both because I knew that I couldn't carry my mission. So it was by design, not by default. And when you think about when you marry someone, you marry the parts that you like. And then you find out there's another side. Oh my goodness. So if you see someone who is loving and kind and considerate and wonderful and all these great things, and then they do something, you say, oh, that's just not like you. Sure it is. They just didn't let you see it early on, that's all. Why not love all of it? Then if you love all of you, you'll love all of them. And then it doesn't matter. So take that into consideration. Let's be grateful for our families. Let's be grateful for standing up for ourselves. I love this picture. When I was in Australia, and I got this photo, and I said, I have to use this in my presentations because it's such a sweet, endearing face. And when these koalas actually operate by themselves, they're very, very soul-oriented. They have very close-knit families, but they tend to be very individual. How are you an individual? How do you stand up for yourself? How do you behave on a regular basis? How do you see yourself as one among many, and where do you allow yourself to be that one person who can make things happen? In Australia, they have something called the tall poppy syndrome. You don't let yourself become better than anyone else. You're all equal. But you can be different in whatever color you choose. You can be different in the way you do what you do. You can be different and yet equal, because all of us in life want the same thing. You want to show your uniqueness, and we all love the fiery people we are. I don't know, it just gets me every time. And you love that about yourself. That's okay. You might irritate other people, but that's okay. So think about, who am I in my uniqueness? What are the gifts that I've been given? What are the talents I've been born with? What are the skills I have acquired? When you think about it, when from 0 to 2, look how far you came. At 2 years of age, you can talk, you can walk, you can run, you can ask questions, you know who you are. From 0 to 2, and then what happens? From 2 to 5, you're told, don't do this, don't run, don't this, don't that. And then we go to school, and I did a study of children who were 6 years of age. They were already in school. You're not supposed to answer that question. Professor Zarzar asked me. Now, I did 2 studies. First one, they were 3 and 4, and they brought things to share. Teddy bears, exactly. Most of them had teddy bears. They told us about the teddy bear, and I did this focus group with these 3 and 4-year-olds. Not my children, they were my friends' children. I unfortunately gave them M&Ms as snacks. That was the wrong thing. But and high C. I gave them high C. What did I know? I was doing my graduate work, and I wanted to talk about communication and conversations. So I said I wanted to study where these conversations come from. So one of the young children said, oh, we're drinking high C, that makes us high. They knew. So the 3 and 4-year-olds would introduce each other. Oh, this is my friend so-and-so, and their teddy bear's name is this. And the other child never said, don't answer, because the question was answered. And when I turned and asked the other child, well, why didn't you answer the question I asked you? Well, he already answered it, so I figured you already knew. But when it was 6 and 7, don't answer. She asked me. She didn't ask you. We become very territorial, and we're told that we're our own person, and you can't stand up against me, and I'm going to show you who I am. We go from one extreme to the other. And then as we grow, what happens? We either become very introverted or more extroverted. We think we own the world. We live in an angry state, or we live in a calm state. We go to both ends because we oscillate every day. You can wake up feeling terrific today, and by the afternoon, you're going to be annoyed because something happened, and you're going to let it affect you. It happens to all of us. We're all human, let's face it. And some of us love our communities. I love this picture. We love our communities. We love to support the community. We do what we can to support each other and help each other. That's what life is truly about. We're here to serve each other. We're here to learn how to love and to adapt to the world and to recognize that the world is. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. And when I tell my students at Ohio University, when I teach communication studies, I tell them, the world is. You are here to learn public speaking. If you're afraid there's something going on inside you because no one's going to hurt you while you're here. So let's talk about what it is that's stopping you from achieving whatever it is. What are your fears? What are you concerned about? What do you worry about? Just think about what you control. And then step back and be aware and discover and love. I love the next picture. I hope you laugh. Isn't it great? I've never seen porpoises laugh so hard. And I think that this is something we all ought to do more. Because, you know, research indicates that children laugh 15 times more than adults. Of course, they don't have to pay bills or anything, but there is a reason. And we can love our world as well. This is our home. So whatever we can do to support it and be there for each other, I'd love for you to consider. So ask yourself, what is the one thing you're going to walk away with right now from this session and share at your table? Go ahead. I know you'll have more opportunity to share with each other through the day and to carry with you some of the feelings that you have right now. I hope that this has been enlightening and inspiring. Remember that life is like an apple. Every time you take a bite of life, you get closer to your core. I'm going to challenge you to go home and grab an apple and slice it. When you slice it in half, it's the shape of a heart. And when you slice it transversely, it's the shape of a star. And that is exactly who we are. We're light and we're love. So love your life. You've created it. And love yourself because you're the star. Thank you.
The Tri-Village Chamber would like to thank Lillian Zarzar for her amazing speech. If you would love to learn more about Lillian, follow her at lillianzarzar.com.